Okay, I'm super excited about this session. I have to give you props. I think this is one of my favorite session titles of the week. This is Sewing Up Success When Rags Unravel. So I like this a lot.
Yeah.
All right, this is Jeff. You are with Elastic. And tell us a little bit about, all right, a lot of us have been using rags and we've been doing a lot of things with AI. Talk to me a little bit, I guess, about observability.
Sure, yeah. So the last year, right, we've been spending a lot of time with AI and RAG, development and everything. So we're starting this year to move it into making it an actual product that people can use.
Yeah.
So observability, right, is logs, metrics, APM, all the stuff that traces how applications work, and all that stuff. So observability is just the concept of observing it. So what we're doing now is we're going to talk about today how we're taking all that AI and RAG architecture and power and moving it into the observability platform.
Okay, great. All right, so what can you show us? Yeah,
so it's going to be two main parts. We're going to talk about 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 real quick, where our AI system for observability lives, so to speak. And then at the end, we have like it's a proof of concept that I put together for the Copilot extension program. So we're part of it. I have to point out, it's not at the initial launch, but we're working with GitHub on securing it at like an enterprise level. So
awesome.
Something we're working on. But we'll show it today.
Okay, well, that's very exciting. Let's go.
All right, great. So Elastic, for anyone who doesn't know, we're a search platform company. We've been around for over 10 years. Leader in search and everything. So Elasticsearch is the underlying technology where all that comes in. We have search, observability, security. We have an AI assistant security I'll point out there. But I'll hop in the interest of time. So when you go into observability, right, again, this is a small demo application. Think like IMDb, but fake. So I'm just collecting today logs and services. And so I used to be in operations for years at trading firms and things. And so, we didn't have all this great centralized things. But today, people, before all the AI, they'd hop into the alerts.
Yep.
Anyone who's been in operations knows you never just have two alerts, but again, today. So I'm
it was an easy day.
It was, yeah. I cleared everything out. So this is about a node. It's just a log count or an error count. So I'm going to click in here. And so what we do right away is from that error that's about APM transaction data, we drop in, you can see at the top, the breadcrumb trails, right? APM services. So we're looking at one service right away. It's a node application, have some error occurrences. And so I can see right away, there's a type error, it's not great. Here's the exception message. I can click into there and zoom down, kind of further down into it a little bit more, and I get more information, right? It's happening a bunch, that's not great. Here's the transaction, so when I call this API favorites, it happens.
This is what's happening.
And so on. And then here's the actual stack trace. So this is where, normally you would have to dig in and kind of figure out what's going on.
Yes.
But this is the first part where our AI assistant kind of surfaces and makes itself known. So you'll see this little, it's an A and I squished together icon, right? So if I click on that, what it's doing is a couple things. So this is where the RAG part comes in. So as a search platform, we're really good at finding all the relevant data for an issue.
Right.
So first we perform the search, we find relevant logs, metrics, whatever data we have, and we put that together, and then we're connecting to Azure OpenAI in this case. So we're saying basically the user has this error, we're looking for more information about it, and we ground it by saying use this collected data we have to find your answer. Don't just make it up. So we pass that back, and we have tools in there, like functions, to provide if it needs more information and context.
You grab that.
Yep.
Right.
So when I go in here now, I get similar information, the stack trace, but I get more helpful information, like the analysis, right? So right away it tells me there's a typo, which isn't too uncommon for me, right? But it actually tells me in this case, this is the function that's not valid, but here's what it should be. It should be res JSON with one and not two. It gives me the solution again. And again, this is a pretty simple application, but if you have a larger distributed, like this is a microservices one, but it's pretty small. If you have a very large, especially RAG architectures where they're connecting all over, it'll still collect all that relevant data, put it together, and then help you figure out what's going on. And again, it tells me possible causes, human error, it's, again, not too uncommon.
No, who amongst us has not had a typo or
yeah, exactly,
10?
right?
Yeah.
You run in and it's always something dumb, is what I usually say. So, the code review, and so this is great. And just an example of, there's a couple lines here, but if we click on metadata, you can actually see all the data that's collected. And this is just one document about this one error. So you can think about all this data spanned out with traces and logs and on. So this is all the data we're able to efficiently gather together with the RAG approach, send it to the LLM, and then let the LLM do its magic of putting together a nice, cool answer. So that's one way. But that still involved me clicking around and dropping down layers. So instead, I can be extra lazy and sit in the main layer, and there's a gray version of that icon, and click on that. And we have a little flyout. Yeah, so you can chat with it. You can ask it kind of anything. You can ask it for help on how to perform, queries. You can ask it like how something works in Elastic. But I can do a similar thing, right? Are there any alerts? If I can spell here, from the last day. Okay, so instead of clicking into the alerts saying, I'm just going to ask it.
Instead of having to know where it is, you can just ask it.
Yeah, so I ask it. So I'm coming in and start my day as an SRE or an operations person. And again, these events up here are kind of the function calls going back and forth.
Right.
But it's going to go in and then again generate the information. And so this is all the information about that error, right? It's the threshold, alert, APM. But this is about the error itself. We wanted to find out about the service.
Right.
So I'm going to be lazy here and I'm going to paste this. But I'm going to say, for this service, can you tell me the last exception and what the culprit is? The culprit is the file in this case. So I click on that. And again, it's going to do the exact same thing. In this case, it's going to run some information. Now the difference here, you'll notice, so recently Elastic released what we call ESQL. Naming's hard, but it's ES-pipe-QL. It's a piping, so it's a piped query language.
Oh, okay.
So, and that's what it's kind of showing you how to do. So from logs, right, pipe, and then telling you how it's querying it, pipe, we're sorting it and limiting by 1, right? So it tells us that it's kind of being helpful if we want to go on and do my own thing, but again, I don't want to run it. I just want it to do it for me.
Right.
So it is actually going to run it for us.
Okay, so you can't actually have it run it for you.
Yep. So we get the thing, exception message. And because, this is the same thing we saw, but instead of having to click through the layers, I just sit in the chat box.
You're just in the chat box, right? Like I don't have to go, if I know where something is, that's great, but why not just, ask it?
Exactly. And so the one last thing I'll do here, we had the alert that said there were errors in general, but I'm curious about this specific exception, right? So again, I'll paste this in here and say, how many times did this specific, this is not a function, happen in the last hour? So is it happening a lot or not? I gotta scroll down. And again, it tells me how to run an ESQL. And this time, it adds an extra, parameter in there, and we're running stats to count. But we can see 868 times in the last hour.
So a lot. So you've had, this type has caused a lot of errors, right?
Yeah, exactly. So should probably fix it.
Probably.
Yeah, exactly. So in this case, as a person in operations or an SRE person, you would go and you'd open an issue. When I worked at small trading firms, I would just run down the hall and go bug the person.
Totally.
Yeah, right. And you stand there at their desk till they
somebody gets paged. Somebody's like, hey, this needs to be fixed.
Yeah, exactly. But so I know you're a developer.
Yes.
Right. And I think it'd be great if you had all this functionality in VS Code where you probably live.
I was going to say, that would be useful, right? Because I see this, I'm like, okay, but I want to see this where I'm actually in my code base.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is where we're going to switch over to VS Code. So I have to say real quick, what you're going to see is not in the product for legal, so legal doesn't come after me. We're working on it. We're part of the GitHub extension beta program that you saw the other day, which is really exciting. This is just a proof of concept I put together. The engineering team's going to work with GitHub to make it secure at an enterprise level and all that, all the good enterprise stuff, not just me hacking it together. But we can do the same thing. So this is in VS Code. And the way this works at a high level is all that functionality you saw with the AI system, we have an API.
Right.
So you can get all the benefit of what the engineering team has been creating, use the API and put it, in this case, VS Code, but you can put it in a Teams bot or any other place where VS Code works. So anyways, I'm going to ask the same question to get started. In this part, we just have, from when I was
And now you'll have an agent where you can actually just talk to Copilot Elastic, right?
Yeah, so the Copilot Elastic is my agent, and I'm going to ask that same question. And so it's very simply, it calls back to GitHub. GitHub calls, my observability Elastic cluster in this case.
Right.
And we get a really nice answer.
And it's pumping all that information right into you.
And it's quick. So one of the things that's nice is, GPT-4o came out, and it's on Azure now. So actually, this is wired up using GPT-4o.
Oh, very cool.
So that's why it's so fast, and you get this nice table and the results. So again, we get the same information, but it's all from within VS Code. So the other thing then we can do, okay, so that's fine, there's an alert. But I want to fix it,
right?
Or you want to fix it.
I would like to fix it. Yeah, it'd be easier.
So I can again ask pretty much the same question. Can you tell me the last error message, or what file it's in, what message?
Right. What's the message?
And it's a pretty simple one. But let's say I didn't know, and you can ask, what does it mean?
Yeah.
Right? And so that's what the LLMs are great at. All the same things are happening. It makes the call to observability cluster. We gather all the relevant data. We make the prompt that says, the user's asking this question. It grounds the answer.
And then it's just piping it right into your editor.
And so you learn, you can see how to do ESQL if you want to make queries in your own code at some point. It tells me, again, which file. So I have, you can see at the top, I have 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗸𝗻𝗃 repo open. So I'm going to go in and fix it. So I'm going to open up the code and just pretend I couldn't remember, right?
Right, might not know where it is.
Yeah, so I can just search and find it. Boom, there's my typo.
Right.
And again, you can see it tells me what it should be, so with one less n, but I'll paste it in anyways. And then I can go and save it and run. Now, I mean, it's the trust but verify thing, right, with LLMs. Obviously, that's pretty easy. You can push it out to development, but the nice thing then, if you have a development environment where you're collecting all this information, you can push it out, and you can still sit there and wait a couple minutes when your pipeline is done pushing out to dev, and say, hey, in the last 5 minutes, was this error? And it'll count and tell you yes or no, right? Hopefully no, and it says there's no errors, and you're off and running.
That's great. That's actually a really great way of kind of doing some testing, right? Because as you said, like we want to trust but verify, but then being able to say, okay, I pushed this out through my pipeline, but using real language to be like, okay, are there any errors?
Right.
Now, that's really cool.
Yeah, so it's really exciting. And so I'll leave this up here while we have a couple minutes. I think you have some questions, but for more information, obviously you can go to our booth that's over here. It's a great resource. We have a lot of great people working there. We have 2 of these labs. So Search Labs is, both of these are very technical focused as opposed to like the marketing front side.
Sure.
So Search Labs is search related. If you're building search applications, it has a lot of research about vector search, implementation. We actually have the GitHub repo there too. It has code. You can clone the code. You can hook it up to your cluster and get off and running right away.
Awesome.
Jupyter notebooks. And then observability actually came out the other day, but similar thing. The blog I have up there with the little running person, that talks about the exact same thing. Instead, there, I put it in a Slack bot, but I'm using the API. So you can get a lot more details on how this was all wired together. And
that's really cool.
While the Copilot might not exist today, you can go and use the API today to integrate in whatever you want.
To put whatever you want. That's great. That's great. I do have a couple of questions for you. So first, I'm going to ask you a question. I know that it's just a proof of concept and that it hasn't been vetted by legal and all that. But I am just curious, how long did it take you to get an extension up and running?
So it only took a couple hours, really.
Awesome.
The biggest challenge was at first we weren't outputting the OpenAI spec because we weren't intending it to be that way. But kudos to our development team, our engineer, they changed it, fixed the spec to be the spec that GitHub wants really fast. And then once that was in place, it literally, it's like 20 lines of code to do it. It's more me making calls back and forth than anything. So it's really easy to hook up.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you for answering that question. I do want to know, how does this integrate into GitHub Issues, or does it? Yeah,
so with the Observability Assistant, you can connect, ingest data from GitHub, so you can ingest issues, and then, the connector we have will update. So as you push, maybe you fix that, you can close an issue out, it'll push it. And so what's great is you can ask the assistant, are there any issues related to this error, right? And it'll search the data that we've ingested, show you the issues, show you who's assigned, and things like that.
Oh, that's really great. And you can do that from wherever the assistant is, right? So I can do that from if I'm within Elastic or someplace else.
Yeah, as long as you have the connector hooked up, and it's really easy. We have a little UI where you connect and put in your credentials, and it starts ingesting data.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Now, does this integrate with runbooks? Because I know that that's something that a lot of people for their plans, it's important to them.
Yeah, and so it works pretty similarly. A lot of SREs have them in GitHub. I know our internal teams do. So whether it's in GitHub, you can use a connector. If it's somewhere else, you bring those in.
You just bring them in.
And so what's great is there's a knowledge base setting in the assistant, and you tell it, these are the runbooks, the index that has it. So when issues happen, if that was a more critical issue, not just some typo, right? Like people can't log into your site or something, it'll search for the correct runbook and provide that to the LLM. So not only will you have all the data that says what's wrong, but it tells the LLM how to fix it, so then it makes the nice step-by-step guide.
Right, it's going to do the nice step-by-step guide, and also follow along your own best practices, and like what your processes are.
Yeah, especially for SREs who, and we onboard people onboard new SREs all the time, and they might be an expert in an area, but large, I used to work again at large trading firms, and there's
so
great
many.
at one area, but not in another, so they can get the step-by-step,
Totally. All right, and can you choose the LLM that you connect to?
Yeah, you can. So, we support, all the public LLMs, but, we're great partners with Azure. Like I mentioned, we were using the GPT-4 in our own tenant in Elastic. And what's great there is, we can send this data and it's our tenant with Azure. So, we're not worried about being trained on or anything.
Right.
But as soon as the new model came out, the O version, like I said, I wired
you
it
were
up.
able to update it,
and
like, very fast.
Yeah, and it became super fast, which is really cool. So
that's great.
Yep.
That's great. All right, Jeff, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You can find out more in the featured partner directory.
Yep, thank you.